Seneca reminds us, what you do should speak so loudly that no one hears what you say. These next minutes reveal exactly what women register as irresistible and the Stoic mechanics behind every move. Stay until the final chapter, tap like, hit subscribe, drop your own experience in the comments, and share this with a brother who needs it. Each principle stacks, so missing one breaks the chain of power. Chapter 1. The way you dress. Step into any Roman bathhouse fresco and notice the deliberate drape of fabric over soldier-hardened shoulders. Clarity in style signaled clarity in spirit. A tunic belted just so told onlookers that the wearer understood proportion, order, and rank before he uttered a single word. Modern men who ignore this linkage leak status before they speak. Pull a charcoal crew neck over a frame refined by deadlifts, let clean lines trace earned geometry. Choose raw denim that molds to daily victories, polished boots whose understated sheen speaks louder than logos. Women read that precision instantly. They see you respect time because you've refused frantic trend chasing. They see restraint because every item has a reason. A pressed Oxford under soft lamplight tells her you plan ahead, from ironing board to business strategy. Stoic discipline appears in the deliberate avoidance of excess, no flashing belt buckle, no gimmick wristbands, just a single weathered leather watch whose quiet ticks resemble a legion drummer keeping pace. Clothing is architecture for flesh. Ask a tailor to reduce sleeve length by a centimeter and suddenly the watch peaks perfectly, broadcasting meticulous care. Stack dark brown leather against navy wool and the contrast whispers command. Pocket seams lie flat because you removed bulk, keys on a clip, wallet slim, phone thin, proving you manage input as strictly as output. You arrive early, allowing fabric to settle, collar stays aligned, confirming that order extends beyond wardrobe into schedule. She observes the lint roller hanging by your door, the cedar shoot trees preserving shape, the spare button sewn back minutes after it popped. Each micro gesture reveals macro competence, evidence of a mind that patches problems instead of postponing them. Even scent participates. A single spritz of cedar and vetiver cologne becomes an olfactory handshake, anchoring her memory to the moment and hinting at woodland discipline rather than nightclub bravado. Hair is trimmed on a predictable cadence, neither over-styled nor neglected, sideburns level with earlobe midpoint, neckline tapered, not blocked, so growth softens edges instead of shouting for immediate attention. Fingernails clean, cuticles pushed back, knuckles moisturized, because tactile impressions matter when a handshake turns to fingers intertwined. Dressing well also prevents internal friction when the mirror nods approval. Cognitive bandwidth shifts from self-conscious monitoring to radiant engagement. You hold eye contact longer, lean closer, speak slower, freed from the loop of wondering whether cuffs are askew. That confidence, born of preparation rather than vanity, floods the room like warmed amber. Think of Marcus Aurelius polishing his armor before dawn inspections. Presentation was part of leadership because soldiers mirror their general. In the same way, family, team, and partner mirror the man who looks collected. A child copies the habit of hanging tomorrow's clothes, a colleague sharpens his own attire before joint client calls, and a partner relaxes into the certainty that details will never ambush her on formal occasions. Color choice converts mood into message. Earth tones ground you during negotiations, charcoal and white sharpen authority at board reviews, while an oxblood knit on casual Sunday brunch shows creative pulse without carnival rebellion. Textures add subtext, flannel signals warmth, merino whispers refinement, denim asserts grit. Rotate fabrics with seasons, not because fashion decrees it, but because environmental harmony extends Stoic respect for nature's cycles. Lightweight linen breathes in July, heavyweight tweed shields in December. Each tells the room you consider context before comfort and yet achieve both. Footwear completes the thesis. Soles stitched, not glued, show long-term thinking. Laces replaced before fray prevents emergencies. In winter, leather is conditioned against salt. In summer, suede is brushed after every wear. Socks coordinate quietly, matching trousers to elongate silhouette, rather than screaming novelty that distracts from conversation. Belts echo shoe tone, buckles minimal, aligning torso and legs into one visual narrative. Accessories remain intentional. A silver tie bar prevents fabric drift during windy commutes and recalls the efficiency of a centurion's cloak pin. A pocket square in plain white cotton, crisp triangle, no flamboyant fold, signals readiness to assist should a spill need blotting. Sunglasses are timeless aviators, lenses clear of smudges, temple arms unwarped, removed indoors to reveal focused gaze. Technology complies, smartwatch faces set to a simple chronograph, phone case uncracked, laptop decals absent. The ritual of staging an outfit before sleep is a pledge you will not let morning chaos dictate image. Rustle of hangers becomes meditation, shoes aligned becomes strategy rehearsal, cufflinks placed in dish becomes reminder that small metals anchor grand impressions. She recognizes the vow and feels secure beside a man who commands first impressions with surgical accuracy. Cloth becomes character, stitch becomes signal, and the way you dress becomes the first magnetic pull that silences competing noise, opening space for every other Stoic habit to speak without shouting. Chapter 2. Sociability. Picture a crowded Athenian symposium, boil lamps flicker, voices duel, lyres pluck soft counter melodies. Amid the swirl, one man glides from scholar to soldier, exchanging names, recalling a father's spear wound or a merchant's newborn daughter. That social fluency brokered treaties, seeded romances, and positioned him at the nexus of opportunity. Fast forward 2 millennia, you step onto a rooftop gathering above electric city lights. Before claiming a drink, you greet the bar crew by name, learned during previous visits, and tip before the first pour. That gesture signals respect for unseen labor, setting a tone of inclusion. You notice a quiet couple orbiting the edge of conversation and open with a disarming observation about the skyline, inviting their story rather than broadcasting yours. Women track these micro moves with instinctive radar. The ability to make strangers exhale marks you as a stabilizer in chaotic environments. Stoic training prized emotional governance, so you scan micro-expressions the way mariners scan shifting tides, catching discomfort before it blooms into alienation. When a shy intern hovers at the hors d'oeuvres, you escort her to the CEO, add a crisp anecdote praising her data insight, and watch hierarchy dissolve for 1 luminous minute. Later, recalling a co-worker's half-marathon goal, you introduce her to a veteran from the local running club, forging a kinetic link that outlives the party. The room's current realigns, women notice momentum orbiting you as surely as planets orbit a gravitational giant. Sociability is not loudness but strategic warmth. Your volume modulates so laughter crests then ebbs, leaving airtime for quieter voices, demonstrating situational awareness rarer than charisma. When chatter splits into insular cliques, you pace the liminal spaces, bridging gaps with context-sensitive anecdotes, a one-liner about blockchain for the fintech corner, a story of Tuscany olive harvests for the culinary crowd. Later, you walk the perimeter practicing new names aloud, anchoring each to a distinctive detail, emerald earrings, a stutter on the letter S, because forgetting erodes the trust you just harvested. Stoics hailed cosmopolitan citizenship, viewing the world as one city governed by shared reason. Embody that worldview by addressing janitor and venture capitalist with equal dignity, customizing compliments to genuine virtue rather than status. Such social range telegraphs adaptability, a trait evolution codes as survival fitness. On dates, she watches how you speak to waitstaff. Your calm courtesy toward someone with no leverage forecasts future tenderness toward her vulnerabilities. You notice whether her water glass empties and flag the server with a subtle nod, demonstrating guardianship without theatrics. Connection extends beyond the event. Within 24 hours you send a concise gratitude text to the host, specific praise of ambience, playlist, or menu, turning ephemeral enjoyment into anchored memory. 2 weeks later, An article relevant to the host's non-profit lands in your feed. You forward it with a line or two, no ask attached, reinforcing that your attention isn't transactional. Sociability converts brief contact into durable reputation. Your name surfaces when advisory boards need fresh insight or when friends debate who should officiate their wedding. Each interaction becomes a deposit in an invisible bank of goodwill whose compound interest women sense long before commitment is discussed. Stoic sociability also includes the courage to exit gracefully. You never cling to circles that have lost conversational oxygen. Instead, you excuse yourself with gratitude and move on, leaving freshness rather than fatigue in your wake. If a dialogue turns toxic, gossip spiraling, bitterness brewing, you redirect gently toward constructive ground or bow out to protect collective vibe, proving mastery over your own energy ecosystem. In digital space, you echo this care. Group chats find you steering topics away from zero-sum outrage toward practical solutions, dropping resource links, or elevating underheard voices. Behind the scenes, you sharpen this craft deliberately. Once a week, you review encounters in a notebook, moments of spark, moments of misfire. You analyze body language cues you missed, calibrate timing of jokes that landed flat, and set micro goals, like remembering 3 personal details before leaving the next event. Stoics believed excellence is iterative. You treat sociability the same way athletes treat muscle adaptation. The ultimate measure arrives unplanned. A storm knocks out power mid-gala, emergency lights flicker, uncertainty ripples. Instinctively you corral guests toward exits, locate staff, reassure the anxious with steady voice and a quick flashlight app. No one appointed you, yet everyone follows because sociability, when fused with composure, becomes authority. Women observe chaos bending around calm leadership and glimpse how life's inevitable outages, emotional or logistical, would feel beside you. When the lights return, conversations resume with heightened gratitude and you fade into the background, letting others own the restored spotlight. True sociability leaves people brighter than it found them, not beholden. Days later, multiple guests message praise to the host about that guy who seemed to know exactly what each person needed. Your phone buzzes with new contacts and unforeseen possibilities, proof that in any century, the man who masters the art of weaving human threads into a stronger fabric commands the social marketplace without ever needing to shout. Chapter 3. Conviction. Stoic philosophy forged men who could steer empires through plague, war, and political intrigue. Their compass was conviction, a magnetic pull so constant it outlasted shifting alliances and volatile crowds. In your era, conviction means declaring, "I believe financial literacy is a civic duty," then gathering neighborhood teens every Saturday to show them how compound interest bends time, regardless of rolled eyes or empty chairs the first week. Women lean toward men whose words and calendars align. When a dinner debate flares over dietary ethics, you lay out your stance, research-backed, experience-tempered, without the tremor of a man auditioning for applause. You invite counterpoints to breathe, but you don't water down your position for harmony. That steadiness throws chameleons, who mirror any opinion to be liked, into stark relief. Conviction begins with an internal audit. Each night you interrogate the day in a leather-spined journal. Did your choices harmonize with stated values? If misalignment surfaces, you skipped weekly charity hours to binge a series, you correct publicly, not to virtue signal but to restore personal credibility. Declare, act, review. This iron loop outlives gossip and inoculates against self-doubt. Women test conviction indirectly. She might mention a polarizing policy and watch if your posture stiffens defensively or stays relaxed, if you parry with data rather than decibels. A man of conviction navigates disagreement with measured tone. He listens enough to refine, adapts if logic dictates, yet never buckles from fear. That balance advertises future leadership, parenting dilemmas, financial storms, family crises. Attraction shifts from casual pastime to shared mission. Aligning with you means joining a trajectory, not boarding a wandering carnival ride. Marcus Aurelius endured assassination plots because soldiers trusted his steadfastness. Your personal empire, relationship, career, community expands when conviction undergirds each choice. Even hobbies broadcast it. You practice guitar scales nightly for years instead of dabbling in trending apps. Friends know Friday invites arrive post-practice because art warrants priority. Conviction vibrates through micro-signals, handshakes firm but not crushing, gaze steady when you state goals, refusal to gossip about absent friends. Socially attuned women detect these cues and classify you as rare metal amid alloys. Conviction also shows in mundane arenas. In a noisy sports bar, the table jokes about short-changing the server, you tip 20% plus, citing respect for labor. At work, a vendor hints at under-the-table favors to accelerate permits, you decline and outline a legal, transparent timeline, even if it risks delay. Peer pressure becomes a mirror exposing depth, shallow opinions shatter, forced steel rings clear. Your refusal isn't loud moralism, it's calm certainty, that's not how I operate, followed by solutions that still hit objectives. People gravitate to clarity because it simplifies their universe. Importantly, conviction differs from stubbornness. When fresh evidence surfaces, clinical data overturning an old fitness regimen, you integrate it without ego bruise, explaining update logic to those following your lead. True conviction orbits truth, not pride. Women value that adaptability because life's variables, illness, relocation, shifting markets, demand partners who can pivot while holding core principles intact. Conviction sharpens boundaries. You set device curfew at 10, so dopamine loops don't erode morning discipline. Friends know not to text gossip after midnight. Colleagues know weekend emails land Monday. These guardrails preserve energy for creativity and intimacy. They also act as silent beacons. She sees a man capable of saying no to distractions is more likely to say yes to long-term commitment. Public perception trails private ritual. Before dawn you review annual objectives, tag each with a daily micro-task, then recite Stoic maxims aloud. The impediment to action advances action. That spoken credo echoes through the day, turning traffic jams into audiobook classrooms and supermarket lines into posture drills. Eventually strangers sense unspoken order. The barista hands you coffee with an extra shot because you always power through. The gym owner asks you to mentor new members because consistency inspires. Conviction even sculpts speech rhythm. Sentences land like hammer taps, precise, final, because you've rehearsed them internally. Empty filler words fade, replaced by intentional pauses that force listeners to lean in. Meetings accelerate, negotiations clarify, family discussions end in actionable steps instead of circular blame. A woman acclimating to that cadence feels psychological safety. Conflict won't spiral, decisions won't linger in limbo. When setbacks strike, business deal collapses, tendon tears mid-marathon, conviction prevents identity free fall. You mourn briefly, then realign tactics to overarching purpose. That resilience, visible in real time, cements respect more than uninterrupted success ever could. It echoes the Stoic image of a fire fueled by whatever is thrown into it, burning brighter for the added material. Ultimately, conviction isn't a single stance but a lifestyle architecture. It wires neurons into habit patterns that default to integrity, channel courage, and broadcast reliability. The reward is compound, internal coherence, external trust, magnetic allure. Cultivate it, defend it, and let every room you enter witness what happens when belief, language, and action march in unbroken formation. Chapter 4. Communication. In the amphitheaters of old Rome, a single measured sentence could halt a riot or rally legions, so Stoics drilled clarity the way gladiators drilled swordplay, precision under pressure. Modern mastery begins the instant you choose to listen with such intensity that even your micro nods mirror her cadence, confirming comprehension before your tongue moves. You angle shoulders toward her, keep phone face down, and let silence breathe until nuance surfaces. When you finally speak, each line follows a four-part architecture: observation, feeling, need, request. I noticed you paused when I mentioned relocating. It felt like worry surfaced. I value transparency between us and need to understand what that pause contained. Would you share your thoughts? That structure translates care into actionable language and demonstrates emotional literacy so rare it registers as attraction. Communication also includes deliberate silence. During her story you resist fixing, letting a tear trace its path without rescue so she owns her moment. Stoic discipline restrains ego from leaping to solutions, proving strength through containment rather than conquest. Your facial expressions rise and fall with her narrative peaks, validating without hijacking. When disagreement appears, you deploy tactical breathing: inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6, cooling limbic surges to keep tone low and tempo slow. You voice her strongest argument before yours, a rhetorical practice called steel manning that signals truth, not victory, as your compass. In group settings you scan for unspoken dissent, summarize divergent viewpoints into a shared objective, and watch tension dissolve. Colleagues see a conflict whisperer. She sees a man capable of protecting collective harmony. Storytelling power matters too. You can condense quarterly data into a 2-minute parable that earns budget approvals because numbers now wear human faces. Name use becomes subtle glue. You sprinkle someone's name just enough to affirm identity without feeling sales pitch slick. Written channels reveal equal rigor. Your emails open with gratitude for previous effort, deliver value in 3 tight sentences, and close with crystal clear next steps. Bullet points replace rambling blocks, subject lines preview outcome, and attachments are labeled for easy retrieval. She notes you manage digital clutter with surgeon's efficiency, implying shared responsibilities. Taxes, travel logistics, toddler schedules will be handled just as cleanly. Even texting follows principles: respond within agreed windows, avoid ambiguous sarcasm, insert clarifying voice notes when tone could skew. You treat group chats like campfires, adding warmth, not embers that spark fights. Boundary communication crowns the practice. I shut off work devices at 9 to protect family time. Urgent issues have a direct line. Delivered early in relationships, such statements furnish a map of your interior country, borders marked, customs clear, welcoming yet orderly. Stoics called this prohairesis, the faculty of choice. By declaring boundaries you show mastery of self. During high-stakes moments, lost luggage abroad, medical diagnosis, market crash, you keep loved ones informed with timely, unvarnished updates, preventing rumor from breeding fear. You also cultivate Socratic curiosity. Instead of spotlighting your exploits, you ask layered questions. What conviction shaped that decision? Then dig gently until core motivations sparkle. People leave those exchanges feeling wiser, a pleasure they subconsciously associate with your presence. Over weeks this reputation compounds. Strangers open up in elevators and executives invite you into closed-door strategy sessions. Finally, you audit your speech nightly like Seneca reviewed conscience. What words lifted, what stung, what remained unsaid that should have been voiced. Apology, when warranted, arrives promptly and specifically. Yesterday I cut you off when you described your project. I value your insight and will practice pausing until you finish. Repair accelerates intimacy because it proves dialogue outweighs pride. Words become scaffolding, actions pour concrete, and together they erect a fortress of trust far stronger than castles of assumption that topple under the first emotional storm. Master this caliber of communication and every other habit: style, sociability, conviction, integrity, humor, composure, amplifies, because the conduit connecting heart, mind, and world now carries signal without static. Chapter 5: Integrity. Integrity means your deeds survive secret surveillance. Picture a rush-hour subway in winter, scarves tight and thoughts elsewhere. A wallet packed with travel cash slips from a tourist's pocket onto the plastic seat. You notice, pick it up, chase him through closing doors, and press it into bewildered hands before vanishing into the crowd, never mentioning it online, never waiting for applause. If footage of that moment surfaced, it would sync perfectly with every impression you've given, because there is no public mask, only one continuous man. Women rarely witness headline-worthy tests, yet they sense pattern. You say you'll call at 8 and the phone lights up at 7:59. You promise to drive her father to an early oncology appointment and show at dawn with coffee for every passenger, paperwork pre-filled, parking paid. Each micro-promise scribbles a line in the silent ledger from which your larger commitment will someday draw massive loans of trust. Stoics held that virtue is reward enough, yet attraction appears as compound interest. Integrity forecasts safe emotional investment. She knows private confessions won't fuel bar jokes after a breakup, and mistakes she admits in confidence will never resurface as ammunition. In business, analysts hand you embargoed earnings because history proves you won't trade rumors for quick profit. You keep competitor decks locked, NDA dates tattooed in calendar reminders. Integrity also governs self. Declare a 5 a.m. hill sprint and you climb even when rain knifes sideways, lungs burning like forge bellows. That unseen victory sharpens self-respect, altering gait, tone, and micro-expressions, subtle tells people read without realizing, voice neither rushed nor hesitant, shoulders level, eye contact steady, hands opening during speech instead of hiding in pockets. These signals broadcast a psyche unburdened by duplicity, freeing bandwidth for creativity and empathy. Temptation prowls daily, colleagues propose padding billable hours, friends suggest creative for expense reports, someone slides a doctored deck across the table. Your refusal is calm, not self-righteous, we'll win on merit or not at all. Here's the compliant route. You dethrone temptation by offering ethical alternatives that still achieve results, suggesting leaner workflows, negotiating truthful timelines, or accepting smaller short-term gain for colossal long-term equity. Women evaluate how men handle peer pressure because future family decisions, mortgage documents, medical crises, raising teenagers, will run the same gauntlet of seductive shortcuts. Your reactions today preview tomorrow's household ethos. Integrity is forged in delayed gratification. You leave ETF dividends to snowball for 20 years instead of chasing meme stocks. You apologize before she notices the oversight. Not after excuses fail, you redirect applause to teammates whose midnight coding sprint saved the release. Stoics called this a read, excellence unmarred by audience size. When a client mails a check already cut 3,000 too high, you flag the error and return the surplus. The story reverberates. Months later, his referral lands you a contract 10 times larger because reliability outweighs cleverness. Reputation precedes you like herald trumpets, doors open before your knuckles lift. Inside those rooms, women and opportunities gather, predisposed by stories of the man who stays true when no eyes watch. Integrity extends to silence. When gossip coils, you neither join nor self-righteously condemn, you redirect with, "I haven't walked in his shoes, let's ask how we can help." This restraint saves absent reputations and demonstrates mastery over conversational drift. It also shields you from contamination. Neuroscientists note that disparaging talk triggers mirror responses in listeners, tainting mood. By steering clear, you radiate an optimism that functions like emotional SPF, protecting everyone nearby. She sees you resist the cheap thrill of character assassination and concludes you will defend rather than diminish her in absent company. Digital integrity matters too. No anonymous trolling, no screenshot leaks, no half-truth slides on social feeds. Your device lock screen could broadcast seen by the Stoics because any post should withstand parental inspection, employer audit, or partner curiosity. You store no secret folder of compulsions, reducing mental friction and the fear of exposure that erodes presence. Freedom from double life grants you the luxury of full attention, the rarest gift in relationships. When she talks, you aren't half monitoring an illicit thread, you are there, shoulders squared, mind uncluttered. Integrity even shapes leisure. Borrow a friend's power drill, return it old with a sharper bit. Finish a library book, slip a fresh bookmark inside. Leave a campsite cleaner than arrival. These gestures seed trust ecosystems wider than romantic interest. Mentors vouch, investors sign, neighbors lend keys. Meanwhile, your own conscience rests like a well-made bed, inviting restorative sleep that translates into clearer skin, brighter eyes, stronger immune response, physiological bonuses evolution wired to signal mate value. Tests will scale with influence. Maybe a municipality offers under-the-table perks to speed permits. Maybe a publisher suggests inflating data for viral allure. Remember the Stoic mirror meditation. Imagine explaining your choice to a wise ancestor and a wide-eyed child simultaneously. If both would nod, proceed. If either would flinch, pivot. Over time, these decisions sculpt a life of architectural integrity, each beam inspected, each joint aligned. When collapse strikes men who built on shortcuts, your structure stands, attracting those who crave shelter. The paradox is that integrity, though quiet, amplifies charisma louder than any flex. It frees energy otherwise spent spinning narratives, so your humor sparkles, your composure deepens, your style simplifies into elegant sufficiency. Everything preceding chapters champion, dress, sociability, conviction, communication, humor, brightens under the clear bulb of trustworthiness. Cultivate it relentlessly, guard it jealously, and let your consistent daylight actions cast the only shadow you ever need, the long silhouette of a man whose word predicts reality as accurately as sunrise. Chapter 6. Humor. Laughter in imperial courts diffuse tensions that swords could not, and the same alchemy works in every boardroom, metro car, and dinner table you will ever enter. A Stoic sense of humor differs from mockery. It lightens burdens while protecting dignity the way supple leather protects steel. Picture stepping into an elevator where awkward silence thickens like humidity. The floor indicator is frozen on 3. You raise an eyebrow, tap the panel twice, and deadpan, looks like the universe scheduled a patient's day workout, failure representatives incoming. A ripple of chuckles lowers shoulders and cortisol alike. The woman beside you subconsciously links your presence with relief. Humor signals cognitive agility, the capacity to juggle ideas at speed and land them safely, and it demonstrates emotional attunement because timing must harmonize with collective mood, not trample it. In a tense project meeting, you exaggerate your own spreadsheet meltdown, miming the cell that turned into #ref, and claiming it screamed at you in Greek. Everyone laughs, tension breaks, and unity resets. That self-deprecation is confidence wearing a smile, redirecting the laugh toward your own misstep instead of a colleague's, preserving group cohesion and subtly announcing leadership. Humor also trains resilience. The man who can joke mid-setback claims agency over circumstance, embodying the Stoic virtue of apatheia, freedom from destructive passion, by converting chaos into punchline without diminishing its gravity. On dates, playful banter maps compatibility like sonar. You invent a zombie escape scenario, riff on her strategy, applaud her decision to grab the first aid kit over your favorite sneakers, and together build a story that cements memory in oxytocin. Laughter fires mirror neurons, synchronizing breathing patterns, fostering intimacy the way campfires draw travelers close. Calibration, however, is everything. Jokes punching down corrode trust, innuendo too early accelerates discomfort, endless sarcasm bleaches sincerity until no genuine emotion survives. Refine comedic craft deliberately, study pacing in your favorite stand-up set, dissect story beats, practice timing during low-stakes chats with baristas and cab drivers, analyze audience feedback like a scientist gathering data. keep notebooks of observed absurdities, a pigeon strutting through a luxury boutique, a corporate memo comparing quarterly reports to medieval crusades. When executed with finesse, humor becomes emotional foreplay, lowering guard so deep a conversation can unfurl like parchment. She finds herself revealing childhood dreams and private fears because you dissolved formality with a single remark about the cafe's comically tiny spoons. Humorous men appear optimistic, a critical survival cue, because laughter hints at surplus psychological resources. You have enough steadiness to gift levity. Yet Stoic humor is disciplined. It notices the absurdity of fate without sneering at it, accepts destiny without surrendering delight. Marcus Aurelius himself joked about court sycophants in his journals, converting irritation into wry observation, a strategy still available centuries later when your inbox fills with hollow compliments. Humor, then, is not distraction from reality but a spotlight revealing its crooked angles, inviting everyone to stand upright together. Master it by listening for the pause just before tension peaks, slipping a gentle quip into that gap, watching faces soften, then guiding the moment toward constructive action. In doing so, you prove that you can confront the absurdity of life and still choose laughter, leading colleagues, friends, and potential partners toward the warming campfire of perspective where problems shrink, possibilities widen, and connection feels as inevitable as dawn. Chapter 7. Stoic Composure. Storms reveal architecture, crisis reveals character. Composure is the silent crown adorning every previous habit, the invisible force that amplifies your style, sociability, conviction, clarity, integrity, and humor until they burn like coals beneath tempered steel. In a packed airport terminal when flights cancel en masse, you steady breathing, scan lines, note alternate gates, and approach the frazzled agent with a voice tuned to lower frequencies that soothe. 10 minutes later you secure rerouted seats for yourself, the elderly couple behind you, and the anxious mother juggling toddlers, all without raising pulse or volume. The woman traveling with you watches every micro choice, no cursing, no eye-rolling, clear articulation of needs, light joke to reset the agent's nervous system. Composure converts chaotic variables into solvable equations, turning chance into choreography. Stoics rehearsed adversity in vivid detail so real turmoil felt like a scene they'd storyboard the night before. Adopt daily cold exposure, fasting windows, or high-intensity sparring to habituate nerves. Repetition rewires the amygdala, letting the prefrontal cortex retain command when other minds drown in cortisol. At work, a server meltdown strikes minutes before product launch. While colleagues scatter in Slack ping hysteria, you assemble a triage strike team, assign roles by aptitude, mute non-essential channels, and soothe investors on speakerphone with data, not drama. The competency glow radiates well beyond the crisis, branding you as the equilibrium others crave. Women intuit composure through subtle signals, steady hand on coffee mug, unhurried blink rate during heated debates, shoulders relaxed though conversation spikes in volume. These somatic cues whisper that future emergencies, child fevers at midnight, sudden layoffs, family bereavements, will not find you paralyzed or punitive. Your calm also nurtures passion. Bandwidth spared from chronic anxiety becomes fuel for creativity, playfulness, and deeper listening. After diffusing turbulence, you pivot seamlessly into teasing banter or thoughtful dialogue, demonstrating emotional range without abandoning center. That elasticity keeps relationships vivid and secure, like a sailboat that dances with gusts yet never capsizes. Stoic composure is not frosty indifference, it is warmth contained in stable vessels. Fire heats a home because brickwork encircles it. Your stillness is that masonry, letting enthusiasm blaze without incinerating trust. Cultivating composure demands relentless self-observation, our shoulders creeping up, breath shortening, thoughts spiraling into futures that may never arrive. Interrupt the loop with posture resets, tactical exhalations, and reframing questions such as, what hidden advantage hides here? Practice micro pauses before replying, allowing intellect to vet impulse. Over months, composure fuses with identity. You become the harbor where storm-tossed ships anchor, the eye of the hurricane where clarity returns. Women, colleagues, children, and strangers migrate to such centers of gravity, guided by an ancient imperative to seek safety nearby. Master this final habit and complete the Stoic arsenal that turns everyday actions into signals so hot they rewrite first impressions the instant you stride into view, proving that true power is not loud conquest but quiet command of self amid roaring worlds. Stand now at the threshold between theory and embodiment. You have dressed with intention, moved through rooms with magnetic ease, anchored yourself in conviction, spoken with crystalline honesty, walked the straight line of integrity, lit the air with laughter, and kept your pulse steady while storms pressed in. That constellation of habits glows hotter than any rehearsal of lines or showcase of trophies ever could. Attraction is no longer something you chase, it is the natural afterglow of a life mastered from the inside out. In the next hour, act on one practice, lay tomorrow's outfit across the chair, send a sincere note of gratitude, hold eye contact 2 seconds longer when someone speaks. Small, observable choices forge the neural pathways that turn discipline into reflex. Momentum loves early proof. Then return here. Drop a comment about the habit you executed and the ripple it created, however subtle. Your story will strengthen this brotherhood, and someone you'll never meet will silently thank you for lighting his path. If the fire in these words moved you, hit like so the algorithm knows men still value substance. Subscribe for the next drill in Stoic power, and share this episode with a friend who keeps asking why nothing seems to click. The answer is here: live louder than you speak. Remember Seneca's echo, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Step past imagination now. Walk into rooms already convinced of your worth. The world, and the women within it, will feel the heat before you even cross the floor.